Hi kids, so yesterday you guys created a your vase stencil, which you traced onto watercolor paper, and you drew in a horizontal line to differentiate between the table and the background in your painting. And today we're going to do our watercolor painting portion. So we're going to start with the background. So I like to flip my painting upside down so it's closest to me. That way I prevent streaks or drips on the vase and the table portion of my painting. And I'm going to pick a color. Now I'm going to do print make. We're going to print make. So you guys are going to be making printing plates tomorrow, and the next day we'll be rolling them with black ink and printing the flowers to create a bouquet. Now, since I know I'm using black ink, I really want those flowers to stand out. So I want to pick a lighter color for my background. So I'm going to go with yellow. I just wouldn't pick a dark purple or a dark blue because you don't want your flowers to get lost in the background. So now I'm going to take my paintbrush, just wet it and dip it into the yellow paint or whatever light color you are choosing for your background. And I'm going to first start by very neatly and carefully painting around the edge of the background and the top of the vase. So I have a nice neat line. And when I do that, notice how I'm really holding my brush on the silver part right close to the bristle so that I have control. Now I'm gonna dip my brush into the paint and back into the yellow. And now that I've done that part, I can move faster in my background and make bigger brush strokes because I have my nice neat line done for me. I think it's a nice idea because watercolor dries pretty fast. I usually paint my background in kind of a circular motion, and that way when it dries, if you do see any little streaks, it just has this kind of cloudy effect that you did purposefully instead of streaks. So I like to paint my background because it's a nice big space, like I said, in this nice soft yellow with these nice circular brush strokes. And then I'm gonna paint that whole background yellow. Now, when I'm done with that, I'm going to carefully turn my painting right side up, and I'm going to give myself a minute just to let this kind of set up. It's not going to completely dry, but we just don't want it to be sopping wet, because what happens is when you have wet paint on wet paint, it wants to bleed into one another, and we want to avoid that. So I'm just going to give it a minute to set up. And then I can move on to my next section, which I would always paint my table next, because I always paint from largest to smallest. So now I'm gonna do my table, and I think I'm gonna go with a purple table because I won't be printmaking on the table, so I can go with a darker color if I want to. So just like I did with the yellow, I'm gonna hold my brush really close to the tip so I have control, and I'm gonna very carefully paint around the edge of my vase, so I keep a nice, clean, neat line. And it's really important for a nice, neat painting. And I'm just using the very tip of my paintbrush to get that neat line. Now that I have a nice, neat outline around my vase, I can paint my table just like I did my background. I can kind of paint in a circular motion. I can move faster now because my lines have been defined for me. And I'm going to just be careful around the edges because I don't want it to leak into my vase or into my background. And I can kind of get my purple table painted in a similar fashion that I did my background. Now, once I've painted my entire purple table, I'm gonna pick a color for my vase. So I have a yellow background, a purple table. I think I'm gonna go for an orange vase. We will be doing some black Sharpie Zentangle patterns in our vase later. So I wouldn't do a dark purple in your vase either, just so that those lines can stand out. So now I'm gonna take my brush, hold it really close to the tip, just like I did with the other colors, and I'm gonna do a nice, neat orange outline. Around the inside of my vase to keep those lines nice and neat because it's my art project and I want it to look good, and I'm very excited about it. So I really want to take time to make sure that I have good craftsmanship. And craftsmanship is just an artist term for being neat and taking our time with our work and using effort. So now that I have the outline for the orange vase done nice and neat, just like I did with my other two areas of my painting, I can start painting in a circular motion and paint nice and neat and kind of get my nice bright orange vase down. And by the end of class, we'll all have a nice painting, kind of plain, solid color blocked painting that we can print onto as we move on with the project. Enjoy your painting day.